I'm Damlola Ogun Shakin, and here on Today in the News, we read and give in-depth analysis on some of the stories making waves across Nigeria. And of course, the campaign have started. We're still having issues with PDP and APC. But let's move on straight to the front pages and see what they're leading with. And of course, Vanguard this morning is leading with anger wells up in APC over party leaders owing Wike. Rivers APC vows not to support Asiwaju if demands a 25% refund of funds proceeds, accuses Buhari of neglecting Rivers APC. They are honest. Issues will be addressed. That's coming from Gadom. Also, grumblings over APC's dormant neck. Campaign counters meet today as Tinubu returns this week. You can see that story on page 5. And here we have a photo story with a writer that says a former governor of Niger State, Dr. Babangida Aliyu, on Monday in Abeokuta, Ogun State capital, to campaign for the People's Democratic Party PDP presidential candidate Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as the most qualified person to take over the President Muhammadu Buhari next year. Now, moving on page 6, we have PDP campaigns, anxiety over composition of subcommittees, a release of timetable. On page 6, we have list of national honors nominees fake. That's according to federal government. NDLEA nabs a suspected drug baron at VGC. Recovers 8.9 billion naira worth of tramadol in his mansion. 2023, we beg God to give us best among Atiku, Tinubu, Obi. That's coming from Sakin Awusa. And on page 6, Nigeria needs leaders with capacity and character. That's coming from Baja. Terrorism, alleged elders were mercenaries from Sudan. That's coming from Beniguari villagers. You can see that on page 11. Stories evolve on the big interview. We have how we are winning the drug war. That's coming from Brigadier General Mawa, NDLEA chairman. On page 11, we have Minabida Highway collapses afresh. Travelers stranded. Boy shoots a 12-year-old brother to death while testing bulletproof charm. You can see that on page 4. On page 9, Catholic Church moves Father Mbaka to monastery. And lastly, on the front page of Vanguard, we have Forex. Turnover in I&E rises at 34% to $27 billion in 9 months. And away from Vanguard newspaper, we move straight to The Nation. The Nation this morning is leading with presidency. Wike Tinubu is best for the job by Al Makura. Also, ex-governor says Atiku Obi Kwankwaso no match for APC's candidates are competent. You can see that on page 4. And here, of course, here we have a photo story showing the Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu addressing women who converged on the Mobolaji Johnson Sport Arena, Nikon, after their solidarity work in support of APC's presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and the governor yesterday. Women rally for Tinubu Shetima Sanwo-Olu in Lagos. You can see that story on page 4. Still on page 4, we have Nigeria, others tackling exchange rate crisis, says World Bank. And the stories are both. We have houses present one candidate. Lastly, on the front page of The Nation newspaper, we have Unilag to get new vice chancellor Friday. You can see that on page 27. Now, away from The Nation newspaper, we'll move straight to The Guardian. The Guardian this morning is leading with PDP may see the Senate presidency to Southwest, SGF to Southeast. It's Atiku turn. Yoruba should not be selfish, says Adebutu. PDP rallies support for Atiku, blasts Tinubu over fitness video. Tinubu not on medical trip. That's according to APC chieftain. APC not is content with vice presidency, can't produce next president. And also Kwankwaso contesting to win, not stepping down for any candidate. NNPP insists. Ex-PDP BOT chair urges party leaders as stakeholders to unite in rescuing Nigeria from APC misrule. And on page 2, we have Saraki missing as Buhari lists Lawan Gbajabiamila as CJN Okonjo-Iweala music stars for national honors. Nance kick against the conferment of national honor on Education Minister Adamu. Mbaka to spend time in solitude. not sacked from adoration ministry, says a Catholic church. You can see that on page 7. And lastly, on the front page of The Guardian, we have cargoes trapped at Apapa Sinkan port as truckers threaten to shut operations. You can see that story on page 6 of The Guardian newspaper. And lastly, let's move to the Punch newspaper. The Punch this morning is leading with PDP crisis. BOT convenes emergency meeting to rescue Atiku's campaign. Party board meets this week as pressure mounts on PDP chairman to throw in the towel. We can't go into polls divided. We'll make needed sacrifices to move forward. That's according to BOT member. A Wabara-led reconciliation panel meets Atiku ahead of Tuesday Port Harcourt meeting with Wike. And here we have 14 stories, 3, 1 in Abuja. Okay, the second one also is in Abuja, and the third, Lagos. And of course, we can just see them on the playing ground. Now let's move on to page 4. We have United States flew Oyo hotelier killed by herdsmen home for burial. You can see that on page page 4. We have NDLEA bust billionaire drug baron, recovers mansion, seizes 8 billion naira tramadol. Also stories above, we have a consumer gets a 1.12 trillion naira bill, pays 775 billion naira amid blackouts. You can see that on page 21. Over 400 fleeing Kuje inmates still at large. Scientists who extracted DNA from 40,000-year-old bones wins Nobel Prize. You can see that on page 27. And lastly, on the front page of the Punch newspaper, we have campaign. Buhari Tinubu Shetima, wives receive appointment letters. And you can see that on page 27 of the Punch newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies this morning. Join us after the break for the analysis. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News on Vanguard Live. I'm Dablola Okunshakin. Joining me to analyze the front pages of the dailies this morning is Mr. Dayo Akintobi. He's the publisher of Illupeju Today, Lekki Today, and Ikeja Jari Today. Good morning, Mr. Dayo.
Good morning, Damilola. Good morning to all our viewers.
Yes, thank you for joining us. All right, and the campaign, there's a lot going on. But let's talk about, of course, APC in the South Side, especially in Rivers State, including for the 2020 elections. They've called on their presidential candidate, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for ignoring them and, focusing on, try to get the Rivers governor to their side. What do you think about this, too?
Well, the complaint is not only against Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu by the Rivers State APC people. They're also aggrieved with the PDP at the national level. They are aggrieved with President Buhari, the head of the APC. They are aggrieved with the entire party because they feel they've been marginalized. They feel that they've been belittled. Part of what they believe is that some of their high-ranking officers are hobnobbing with Governor Wike to the detriment of the party in Rivers State. First of all, let's look back historically and remember that in 2019, PDP was not on the governorship ballot due to a technicality. The APC was not on the ballot in Rivers in 2019. So ever since then, the state chapter, the Rivers State chapter of the APC has been very sensitive, and essentially because they feel like they were cheated out of their opportunity to compete for the governorship. And what they've been trying to do since 2019 is to build the party and make it strong and formidable so that they can make up for the lapse of 2019 and put forward a very strong showing in 2023. So here they are trying to fortify the party, trying to build it, trying to woo more members. And all of a sudden now what they discover is that in the run-up to 2023, the support they should be getting from the center, rather than getting support from the center, what is happening actually is that they are being weakened by the center. Now, some of their complaints are this. Some high-ranking APC members have been coming to Rivers State to meet with Governor Wike to commission his projects. I'll give you some examples. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, went to Port Harcourt and met with Wike and commissioned some projects. So did Kayode Fayemi and Rotimi Akeredolu. They went to the state. In and of itself, there's nothing wrong with having some dignitaries come and commission projects for you. But Rivers State is looking at it and they're saying, look, Governor Wike has said openly that he's not leaving the PDP. So he's just using you people to demarket APC in Rivers. Because what's going to happen ultimately is that those people are coming to commission projects. They are heaping praises on Governor Wike. Oh, look, he built this lovely road. Oh, he built this bridge. He is doing well. So by you saying he's doing well, right, you are building him up in such a way that is making him look attractive to his public. So what APC is saying is that, look, you are demarketing us. You are encouraging Rivers people to see Wike and the PDP as good, that they've done well, and so you should begin to support them. So APC is saying that is anti-party activities. Now, what even worsens it is that when these people have gone to Rivers to meet with Wike and do his bidding, they've ignored the state chapter of the party. They don't meet with the people. They don't call them and say, hi, we've come to your constituency for so purpose. Let's have dinner. Let's discuss. What are your issues? What can we? No. They just come, visit the PDP governor, do his bidding, get on the plane and go. As if the Rivers APC does not exist. Now, to make matters worse, the Rivers State chapter of APC said 5 names for the Presidential Campaign Council. You know, that was the idea, was each state should submit names. Not one of the 5 in Rivers State was chosen. So that's another slight. So the aggregation of all of these slights is leading the local APC to say, look, you are marginalizing us. At the time when we need you to lift us up, you are kicking us down, and this is not good. And if it does not change, we won't support your presidential candidate in the upcoming election. We'll work for National Assembly, State House of Assembly, and our governorship candidate. We won't work for the national election. And remember, Rivers is pivotal. After you take Lagos, you take the FCT, and you take Kano, probably Rivers is next, or at least within the South-South. Rivers is the most populous, it's the richest, so you can't afford to ignore Rivers, especially in a presidential contest. So they are now threatening that unless they are given their due, what are some of the things they are demanding? They are demanding 25% refund of the monies they paid for nomination forms, which they said Rivers alone paid over 1 billion to the states, to the party national convention or whoever it is to buy nomination forms. They say 25% of that money should go to the state chapter for it to fund its activities, that it been starved of funds. See, Rivers APC is in a unique situation. Their party is at the center, right? APC is running at the center. But within their own state, they are being run by the opposition. PDP is in power. So really, they're a toothless bulldog in Rivers. But at the national, because their party controls the center, they believe that they should have some clout and some influence based on the devolution from the center, and that's not happening. Now, the leader of the APC in Rivers is who? Rotimi Amechi, because he was the highest ranking Rivers State indigene in the Buhari administration before he had to resign to run for presidency. Now, he and Wike are at loggerheads. Wike spends his entire day abusing Buhari and abusing Amechi every day. That's all he's doing, is abusing them. So you might notice after the primaries, Wike has gone very quiet.
Yes.
Very, very quiet. We've not heard from him. But he's the leader of the APC in Rivers. And the APC people are saying it's because the APC bigwigs don't like Amechi. And they have an axe to grind with Amechi. That's why all of a sudden now Rivers APC is being made irrelevant. So it's really a big problem for the APC. They have to find a way to begin to bring the Rivers contingent back into the family so that APC is not divided. You don't want to go into a presidential election as a divided party.
Okay, I read some things on social media where some people were like, it's like if you want to say it, you just say the governors, the APC people attending this, this inauguration and the things that, Governor Wike is doing, that they're just being honest. But my question is, how is this of great advantage to the PDP? Exactly what's going on in Rivers?
Well, you see, the thing is that, of course, at the moment, Wike is the beautiful bride. Remember that even Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu met with him in London. Everybody's trying to woo him. Once they saw that he was disgruntled with the PDP, they felt there was a possibility they could woo him over to their side because he'd be a very big catch. As I said, Rivers is pivotal in the national scheme of elections. So everybody is trying to play to Wike's whims, and he's just smart and he's just dribbling everybody all over the place. He should be the one that's nicknamed Maradona nowadays, because he's just playing, he's just having a good time dribbling everybody. At the end of the day, the belief is he's never going to leave the PDP. So all you are doing, trying to woo him and trying to win his support for the opposition, that at the end of the day, he's just going to take the mickey out of you, and he's not going to do what you think you want him to do. So I think that for the PDP, by and large, both in Rivers State and at the national level, especially at the national level, I think it's worrisome that the PDP's presidential candidate has not been able to resolve issues with the Wike camp. First of all, the Wike camp, there are 5 governors banded together, and that camp is growing on a daily basis. I've heard that they're going to have a meeting today. The BOT or some elders are going to go and meet with Wike today to try and resolve this thing. They've offered them a couple of carrots. They said if Atiku wins, we will give the South as Speaker of the Secretary General of the Federation. We will give a Speaker of the House of Representatives, Senate President. They've made some offers to try and be conciliatory to the Wike camp, to try and bring them back into the fold. Because going into this election, if you don't have the support of 5 governors, the governors are so key to the grassroots in terms of being able to mobilize, in terms of being able to sensitize, in terms of being able to send the troops out into the rural areas and having meetings with ward chairmen, state chairmen, local government chairmen, that kind of thing. The way where grassroots are mobilized from, it all emanates from the governor. And so if you've lost 5 of them and they are not working actively for you, how do you now begin to try to win elections? And the problem for Atiku is that the Wike camp is growing every day. The numbers keep increasing. More and more people are throwing their support behind Wike, that Ayu must go. That Ayu must go. Now, if I were Ayu at this point, I would look at it and say, if my staying is going to affect the fortunes of the party at the elections, I will go voluntarily.
But this is Nigeria.
This is Nigeria. and not everybody is me. So, but that's the honorable thing to do. Even if you are holding on based on principle, it's gotten to the point now where the fortunes of the party are being affected by the opposition to his chairmanship. So he should really look at it, and if he has to fall on the sword and make a personal sacrifice for the fortunes of the party, it's not too much for him to do.
All right, still talking about PDP, there is a mounting anxiety within the rank and the file of PDP, following what appears to be a delay in the composition of subcommittees, as well as the release of a timetable and schedule of activities by the party's National Campaign Council. And apart from that, PDP, they've tried to show the world that they are ready. But from what you've seen, do you think they are really ready?
Okay, let's flip that question on its head, and let's say, how about the APC, who hasn't even convened this presidential campaign council and hasn't even had a meeting? The PDP at least has launched its presidential campaign council. Their presidential candidate has basically presented his manifesto. He has basically he's hit the ground running. So I would say it's just all administrative constraints, which is normal in an undertaking this large. Nigeria is a massive country, 36 states plus the FCT, 774 local governments. Before you can fully roll out every single subcommittee that's going to run every single aspect of a campaign, I mean, there's logistics, there's finance, there's campaigning, there's publicity, media, there's all kinds of aspects to running a national campaign. And I put it to you that no matter how well prepared you are, there are some things you cannot pre-do. You can't do them before you've actually started your campaign. So your readiness is simply a readiness to begin to perform when you have started. So some of those committees might look like they're late in coming, but they couldn't come until the campaign council was inaugurated and maybe chairpersons appointed for those various subcommittees, and then they'll be given their assignments and get up and running. Bottom line, when you talk about states of preparedness, look at the 4 major parties that are contending for presidential. You have one party that has launched its presidential campaign Presidential Campaign Council and says we've started our campaign. You have another one that has produced a list of names, but is yet to launch or inaugurate that campaign. The presidential candidate is not even in the country at this moment. Then you have a third party that we've not even heard anything about who the leaders are. All we know is he has a presidential candidate and a vice, but we don't even know anything about his council. It's saying, oh, you will hear from us in the coming days. We will roll out our council soon. But we've not even, at least we've seen a list from one, and we've seen another one that has rolled out. The third one, nothing. It's just a talk. So then the fourth one is as if it doesn't even exist at all. So look at those different levels of preparedness. It means that each and every one is having a different approach towards looking at how this agglomeration, this massive conurbation called Nigeria, how you can spread out and disseminate your campaign vision throughout the nooks and crannies of the entire country. It's not an easy undertaking logistics-wise. It's not easy. So they are all at different stages of preparedness, but I want to assure Nigeria that sooner than later, all four of them will be up and running. We begin to see rallies, we begin to see campaign trains, we begin to see jingles, we begin to see adverts on TV, full-page newspaper wraparound.
We saw one last week.
Yeah. So it's coming, it's coming. Let's just be patient, it's coming.
All right, talking about the presidential candidate who is not the country, he released a video. What do you think about that video? Well,
you know, Nigerian youth are so creative. Within an hour of that video coming out, we already saw photoshops showing the poor man was riding an exercise bicycle, and they photoshopped it showing him riding an ice cream bicycle. It's just, I love Nigerian Twitter, the Twitterati. I love their creative energy. But on a more serious note, the reason that video came out into existence was because there's been a lot of speculation, especially on social media, that he went for, he's ill, he went for medical reasons. There was even at some point rumor that he had died last week, sometime that he